Everyone in the diner froze when the scarred veteran stood up and said, "Don't you dare touch her." The words cut through the air like a blade, sharp and cold. Cole Mitchell hadn't raised his voice in months, maybe longer. He'd learned to keep his head down, to blend into the background of the world he no longer felt he belonged to. But watching that man's hand reach for the waitress's wrist, watching her flinch, something inside him snapped back to life. The man in the designer suit turned slowly, his expression dripping with contempt. "Excuse me? This doesn't concern you, buddy." Cole stood there, 6 feet of wiry muscle and faded scars, his left hand trembling slightly, the way it always did when his nerves lit up. His daughter Emma sat wide-eyed in the booth behind him, her chocolate pancakes forgotten. She was only 7, but she'd seen that look in her daddy's eyes before. The look that said he was somewhere else, somewhere dark, somewhere he fought every day not to return to. "It concerns me now," Cole said quietly. The diner had gone silent. Forks paused mid-air. Coffee cups hovered at lips. Even the sizzle of the grill seemed to fade into the background. The waitress, Grace, her name tag read, stood frozen between them, her eyes glistening with something that looked like relief and terror all at once. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with tired eyes that didn't match her soft smile. Cole had noticed her before, during his weekly visits to Rosie's diner. She always refilled Emma's orange juice without being asked. Always drew little smiley faces on the check. Small kindnesses that felt enormous when you were living on the edge of breaking. The rich man, Sterling he'd heard someone call him, stepped closer. His cologne was suffocating, expensive, the kind that announced itself before he entered a room. "Do you have any idea who I am?" "Don't care," Cole replied. Sterling's jaw clenched. "I'm a regular customer here. I spend more in a week than you probably make in a month, you." "What are you, some washed-up soldier? You think you can just, Daddy?" Emma's voice was small, frightened. Cole's heart cracked. He glanced back at his daughter, saw her clutching her worn, stuffed rabbit, and felt the familiar weight of failure pressing on his chest. He was supposed to protect her from this world, from scenes like this, from men like Sterling who thought money gave them the right to touch whoever they wanted. But he was also supposed to teach her something about standing up, about doing the right thing even when your hands shake and your heart pounds and every instinct screams at you to sit back down and disappear. "It's okay, sweetheart," he said softly. Then turning back to Sterling, apologized to her. "Then leave." Sterling laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Or what?" Grace finally found her voice. "Please, it's fine. I can handle—" "No," Cole interrupted gently, his eyes still locked on Sterling. "You shouldn't have to." The tension stretched like a wire pulled too tight. The diner owner, Rosie, emerged from the kitchen, her weathered face tight with worry. She'd known Cole for 3 years, since he'd moved to this small Tennessee town with Emma after the divorce. She knew about his night terrors, his therapy appointments, the way he sometimes stared at nothing for too long. "Gentlemen," Rosie started, but Sterling wasn't finished. He jabbed a finger at Cole's chest, not quite touching but close enough to feel threatening. "You want to play hero? You think this little waitress needs you? She's nobody, just some girl slinging coffee for tips, probably grateful for the attention." That's when Grace spoke, and her voice was different, steadier, colder. "I need you to leave, now." Sterling turned to her, his face reddening. "You're firing me. I practically keep this place running with my—" "I'm not firing you," Grace said quietly. "I'm asking you to go, and you should. Before this gets worse." There was something in her tone, something that made Sterling pause. For just a moment, uncertainty flickered across his face. But his pride was too large, his ego too inflated. He grabbed for her wrist again, and that's when Cole moved. It wasn't violent. Cole had promised himself, promised his therapist, promised Emma that he wouldn't let that part of him out anymore. But his hand shot out, catching Sterling's wrist mid-grab, his grip firm enough to stop him cold. "Last chance," Cole said. "Walk away." The two men stood there, locked in a moment that felt like it could break in any direction. Cole could feel his pulse hammering, could feel the old training trying to surge up, the muscle memory of 100 hostile situations. But he also felt Emma's eyes on his back, and that kept him anchored. Sterling yanked his hand away, his face twisted with rage. "This isn't over. I'll have you arrested." "I'll have you—" You'll have yourself embarrassed, Grace said softly, because everyone here saw who grabbed who first. Everyone here heard what you said, so please, Mr. Sterling, just go. He stared at her for a long moment, and Cole saw something calculating slide behind his eyes. Then Sterling smoothed his suit jacket, smiled a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and nodded, "Fine. Enjoy your poverty, both of you." He walked out, the bell above the door chiming cheerfully in stark contrast to the mood he left behind. The diner slowly came back to life. Conversations resumed in hushed tones. Rosie squeezed Grace's shoulder and disappeared back into the kitchen. Cole stood there, his hand still trembling, his heart still racing, wondering if he'd just made everything worse. "Thank you," Grace said quietly. "You didn't have to do that." Cole looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something he recognized. The same exhaustion he carried, the same weight of trying to be strong when everything inside felt fragile. "Yeah," he said. "I did." Emma appeared at his side, slipping her small hand into his. "Was that man mean?" "Very mean, baby. But you stopped him." "I tried." Grace knelt down to Emma's level, and Cole noticed her hands were shaking too. "Your dad's very brave," she said, and her smile was genuine this time, warm and grateful. Emma beamed. "I know, he's the bravest." Cole felt something twist in his chest. Because he didn't feel brave. He felt tired and scared and like he'd just painted a target on his back he couldn't afford. But looking at his daughter's proud face, at Grace's grateful eyes, he thought maybe that's what bravery was. Doing it anyway, despite the fear. "Your breakfast is on me," Grace said, standing up. "Both of you. You don't have to, I want to." And there it was, the first thread of connection, thin and fragile, but there. Neither of them knew it yet, but that moment would change everything. As Cole and Emma finished their breakfast in the now quiet diner, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Not just in the room, but in him. For the first time in years, he'd felt like himself again. Not the broken version. Not the one who couldn't sleep without nightmares or hold a job for more than 6 months. The version who still believed in doing the right thing, even if it cost him. Cole didn't sleep that night. He lay in the small bedroom of their apartment, staring at the ceiling while Emma's soft breathing drifted through the thin wall. The confrontation replayed in his mind like a film stuck on loop. Sterling's face, Grace's trembling hands, Emma's wide eyes. He'd handled it without violence, without losing control. But the adrenaline still coursed through him hours later, refusing to fade. Around 3 in the morning, he gave up and made coffee. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the ancient refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on the highway. This place wasn't much. A one-bedroom that he'd given to Emma while he took the couch, peeling linoleum in the kitchen. A bathroom where the shower never got quite hot enough. But it was theirs. Safe. Or at least it had been until today. Because Cole knew men like Sterling didn't just walk away. He'd seen them before. During his time in the service and after, men who believed the world owed them everything, who couldn't stand being challenged, especially not by someone they considered beneath them. Men who held grudges like weapons and waited for the perfect moment to strike. The worry gnawed at him as he sipped his coffee, watching the sky slowly lighten through the window. He had Emma to think about. Always Emma. She was the reason he got up every morning. The reason he kept going to therapy, kept taking his medication, kept trying to build something resembling a normal life from the wreckage of who he used to be. When she padded out of her room at 6:30, rubbing sleep from her eyes, Cole had already made her favorite breakfast, scrambled eggs with cheese and toast cut into triangles. "Morning." "Princess, morning, Daddy." She climbed into her chair, Mr. Floppy, the stuffed rabbit, tucked under her arm. "Are we going to the diner again soon?" "Maybe next week." "I like Miss Grace, she's nice." Cole smiled despite his exhaustion. "Yeah, she is. Is that man going to hurt her?" The question landed like a stone in his chest. Emma was perceptive, always had been. Too perceptive for a 7-year-old who'd already been through a divorce, a cross-country move, and a father who sometimes woke up screaming in the night. "No, baby. He's not going to hurt anyone." "How do you know?" "Because I won't let him." Emma considered this, then nodded. Satisfied with an answer Cole himself didn't quite believe. across town, in an apartment not much better than Cole's. Grace Chen stood in front of her bathroom mirror and examined the faint bruise forming on her wrist where Sterling had grabbed her 2 weeks ago. Yesterday wasn't the first time. It had been building for months. The inappropriate comments, the lingering touches, the way he looked at her like she was something he could purchase along with his overpriced omelet. She'd dealt with men like him her entire life. First, when her father's business empire was just beginning, and they lived in a cramped apartment in San Francisco's Chinatown. Then later, after the billions came, when suddenly everyone wanted something from her. Her name, her connections, her father's money. That's why she'd left. Why she'd taken an assumed name, dyed her hair, and moved to this small Tennessee town where nobody knew that Grace Chen was actually Grace Zhao, daughter of billionaire tech mogul David Zhao, where she could be anonymous, normal, just a waitress trying to figure out who she was without the weight of her family's empire crushing her. But even here, she wasn't safe. Even here, men like Sterling existed, believing they had the right to her body, her attention, her compliance. Until yesterday, Grace touched the business card in her pocket, the one Cole had left by accident when he'd paid the check, the one with his name and phone number scrawled on the back in Emma's childish handwriting. "In case you need help," the little girl had whispered, slipping it to her when Cole wasn't looking. The gesture had made her cry in the bathroom after they left, because nobody had stood up for her in years. Nobody had risked anything for her. They either wanted something from her or wanted to use her, but none of them just helped. No expectations, no ulterior motives. Just a tired, scarred veteran who couldn't stand to watch someone be hurt. Grace knew she should walk away. Knew that getting involved with Cole and his daughter would only complicate the careful anonymity she'd built. But something in his eyes yesterday, that exhaustion, that determination, that barely contained pain, had recognized something in her. They were both running from something, both trying to rebuild from rubble. Maybe that was enough. 2 days later, Grace showed up at Cole's apartment. He opened the door in jeans and a faded army t-shirt, surprise flickering across his face. "Grace? Hi, I hope this isn't weird. I asked Rosie where you lived. I wanted to thank you properly." She held up a paper bag. "I brought muffins from the diner. Rosie's recipe." Emma appeared behind Cole, her face lighting up. "Miss Grace." "Daddy, it's Miss Grace." Cole stepped aside, still looking uncertain. "Come in." "Sorry, the place is a mess." It wasn't, not really. It was sparse but clean. Second-hand furniture, a few toys in the corner, photographs of Emma taped to the walls. The only mess was the stack of bills on the kitchen counter and the VA paperwork scattered across the coffee table. "I also wanted to check on you," Grace said quietly, once Emma had run off to find a drawing to show her. "That situation at the diner, it could have gone badly. I was worried Sterling might have come after you." Cole's jaw tightened. "He hasn't yet. He will, I know." They looked at each other, and something unspoken passed between them. An understanding that the confrontation wasn't over, that consequences were coming, that they'd both been in this position before, waiting for the other shoe to drop. "Why did you do it?" Grace asked. "You don't know me. You had your daughter there. You could have just looked away." Cole was quiet for a long moment. "Because I'm tired of looking away. I did that for too long after I got back. Kept my head down, didn't get involved. Told myself it wasn't my problem anymore." He glanced toward Emma's room. "But then I think about her, growing up in a world where men like Sterling can do whatever they want, and nobody stops them. What kind of example is that?" Grace felt something shift in her chest. "You're a good father. I'm a mess of a father. But I'm trying. That's more than most people do." Emma returned with a crayon drawing of what appeared to be the three of them standing in front of the diner, all smiling. "I made this for you, Miss Grace. See, that's you, and that's me, and that's Daddy, and we're all friends now." Grace accepted the drawing with hands that suddenly felt unsteady. "It's beautiful, Emma, thank you. Do you have kids?" Emma asked with the blunt curiosity of childhood. "No, sweetheart. Just me, that's sad. You should come have dinner with us sometime. Then you won't be lonely." "Emma," Cole said gently. "Miss Grace probably has." "I'd love that," Grace interrupted. "If the invitation's genuine." Cole looked at her, surprise and something else in his eyes. Hope, maybe, or the beginning of it. Yeah, it is, and so it began. Not with romance or grand gestures, but with something quieter and more profound. A single father and a waitress, both carrying secrets, both exhausted from fighting battles nobody else could see. Finding in each other something they'd thought they'd lost. A reason to stop running. A reason to stand still. A reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, they deserved something good. 3 weeks passed like a held breath. Grace became a fixture in their small apartment, showing up on her days off with groceries she insisted on sharing, helping Emma with homework at the kitchen table, while Cole made dinner. They fell into an easy rhythm, the three of them, like a song that didn't need rehearsal. Emma bloomed under Grace's attention, and Cole found himself smiling more, sleeping better, the weight on his chest lightening incrementally with each passing day. But underneath the fragile peace, Sterling was circling. It started small. Cole's hours at the warehouse got cut without explanation. Then his truck got keyed in the parking lot. Anonymous calls to his phone at odd hours. No one speaking, just breathing on the other end. The kind of psychological warfare designed to make him feel hunted, cornered, always looking over his shoulder. "It's him," Grace said one evening, after Cole mentioned the third call that week. They sat on the apartment's small balcony while Emma slept inside, the Tennessee autumn air crisp and cool. "Sterling, he's doing this. I know." Cole stared at his hands, the tremor more pronounced now from stress. "I just can't prove it. We could go to the police and say what? A rich guy is making my life difficult? They'll laugh us out of the station." Grace was quiet, guilt gnawing at her insides. She could end this with a single phone call. Could have her father's lawyers bury Sterling in lawsuits so deep he'd never surface. Could reveal who she really was and watch Sterling grovel and beg forgiveness. But doing that would mean exposing herself, admitting the lies she'd been living, potentially losing this fragile, beautiful thing they'd built. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "This is my fault. If I had just..." "Don't," Cole's voice was firm. "Don't apologize for existing, for working, for being somewhere." He reached over and after a moment's hesitation took her hand. "Sterling's the problem, not you." It was the first time they'd touched intentionally, and Grace felt electricity run up her arm. Cole's hand was calloused, scarred, trembling slightly but warm. "So warm. Tell me something," she said softly. "Something real. About before." Cole was quiet for a long time, and Grace thought maybe she'd pushed too far. But then he started talking, his voice low and rough with memory. "I enlisted at 19. Thought I'd see the world, serve my country. All that idealistic bullshit. Did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I was good at it, too good maybe. Made sergeant by 24. Got married to my high school girlfriend because that's what you were supposed to do." He paused, his jaw working. "Emma was born while I was deployed. I didn't meet her until she was 4 months old." Grace squeezed his hand, encouraging him to continue. "Third tour, our convoy hit an IED. I survived. 3 of my men didn't. I carried one of them, Jackson. He was 22, had a baby girl back home. I carried him for half a mile before I accepted he was gone. After that..." He trailed off, staring at nothing. "After that, I wasn't the same. Started having nightmares. Couldn't be around crowds. Would hit the ground when a car backfired. My wife tried, she really did, but I was a ghost in my own house. We divorced when Emma was 4. I got sober, got therapy, got my shit together enough to fight for custody. 1 joint, moved here for a fresh start, and I've been trying ever since to be the man Emma deserves, instead of the one I became." Tears slid down Grace's cheeks. "You're a good man, Cole. I'm a work in progress, aren't we all?" He turned to look at her then, really look at her, and she saw the question forming behind his eyes. "Who are you really, Grace? What are you running from?" But before he could ask, Emma's scream shattered the moment. They both rushed inside to find her sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, pointing at the window. There was a man. There was a man looking in. Cole's entire body went rigid. He checked the window. They were on the 2nd floor, fire escape access, and found it slightly ajar, the lock broken. His military instincts kicked in immediately. "Grace, take Emma into the bathroom. Lock the door. Call 911. Cole, now." She obeyed, gathering the sobbing Emma and retreating. Cole grabbed the baseball bat he kept by the door and moved through the apartment with the efficiency of someone who'd cleared 1,000 hostile buildings. The place was small. It didn't take long to confirm they were alone. But on the balcony, he found a cigarette butt still warm, and a business card tucked under a flower pot, Sterling's business card. On the back, written in sharp, angry script, "You should have minded your own business." The police came, took a report, collected the card. A board officer told Cole they'd look into it, with all the enthusiasm of someone who'd already decided nothing would come of it. After they left, Grace made tea with shaking hands while Emma clung to Cole like a barnacle. "He's escalating," Grace said quietly. "This isn't going to stop." "I know. Cole, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning." He looked at her, and she saw fear there. Fear that whatever she was about to say would shatter this fragile peace they'd found. But before she could speak, Emma's small voice interrupted. "I don't want the bad man to hurt us." Cole pulled her closer. "He won't, baby. I promise." "How do you know?" "Because I won't let him." Grace looked at this man, this broken, beautiful, brave man, making promises he might not be able to keep, protecting people with everything he had left, and made a decision. She'd been running for 3 years, hiding from her identity, from her family, from the responsibility of being David Zhao's daughter. But maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to fight back. "Cole," she said quietly, "we need to talk about who I really am." And in the small apartment, with Emma between them and danger circling outside, Grace finally told the truth. About her father, about the billions, about why she'd left and why she'd hidden and why Sterling never knew who he was really threatening. Cole listened in silence, his face unreadable. When she finished, the apartment was quiet except for Emma's breathing and the distant sound of traffic. Finally, he spoke. "So you're rich." "Yes, and you've been pretending to be a waitress." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I wanted to be seen as just me. Not my father's daughter, not a bank account, not a business opportunity. Just Grace, just a person." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "I'm still that person, Cole. The money doesn't change who I am." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he smiled, small but genuine. "No, I guess it doesn't. You're still the woman who draws smiley faces on checks and brings muffins when someone's having a bad day. Still the woman my daughter adores. Still the woman who's been helping us when you could have been anywhere else. You're not angry." "Why would I be angry?" "You wanted privacy. I get that. Hell, I've been trying to leave my past behind too." He shifted Emma in his arms. "But Grace, if you have resources, if you can protect yourself from Sterling—" "I can protect all of us," she interrupted. "If you'll let me. I know you don't need saving, Cole, but maybe I need to stop running. Maybe I need to stand up to guys like Sterling the way you did. Maybe—" She reached for his hand again. "Maybe we protect each other." And there it was, the moment where everything changed. Where two people who'd been surviving alone realized they could do more than just survive together. They could actually live. Grace made the call at dawn. She stood on the apartment balcony, watching the sun bleed orange across the Tennessee sky, her phone pressed to her ear with a hand that only trembled slightly. The number she dialed was private, unlisted, one she hadn't used in 3 years. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered, rough with sleep and surprise. "Grace? Grace, is that you?" "Hi, Dad." Silence. Then, "My God, are you safe?" "Where are you?" "I've had people looking—" "I'm fine. I'm safe. And I need your help." In the apartment behind her, Cole was making breakfast while Emma colored at the table, both of them pretending not to listen. She could feel Cole's tension even through the glass door, could sense his struggle between pride and practicality. He didn't want to be saved, but he wanted Emma protected, and that made all the difference. Grace explained everything to her father. The diner, Sterling, Cole, the escalating threats. David Zhao listened in silence, and she could practically hear his mind working, assembling pieces, formulating strategy. "I'll have a security team there by noon," he said finally. "And lawyers. Sterling won't bother you again, I promise you that." "Dad, wait. I don't want a circus. I don't want media. I don't want this becoming some story about a billionaire's daughter. These people I'm with, they're good people. They've been through enough. Grace. Her father's voice softened. I've respected your need for space these 3 years. I've honored your wish to be left alone, but someone threatened my daughter. Do you really think I'm going to respond with moderation? I think I'm asking you to respond with precision. Handle Sterling legally, quietly. And Dad? She took a breath. I'm not coming home. Not yet, maybe not ever. I've built something here. Something real. Another pause. Tell me about him. This veteran. Grace glanced through the glass at Cole, who met her eyes and offered a small, encouraging nod. He's brave. He's broken. He's trying every day to be better than he was yesterday. He has a daughter who's the most wonderful kid I've ever met. And when he looks at me, he doesn't see dollar signs or opportunity. He just sees me. You love him. It wasn't a question. I'm starting to. Yes. Then I'll do this your way, David Zhao said quietly. But Grace, I'm sending protection whether you like it or not. And after this is handled, I'm coming to visit. I want to meet this man. That's fair. And Grace, I've missed you. Every single day, tears slipped down her cheeks. I've missed you too, Dad. Things happened quickly after that. By afternoon, 2 discreet security personnel, both ex-military, both professional, had taken up positions watching the apartment. Grace didn't introduce them to Cole directly, just explained they were there, they were good, and they wouldn't interfere. Cole's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Pride was a luxury he couldn't afford right now. By evening, Sterling received a visit from David Zhao's legal team. Grace didn't know the details, didn't want to. But whatever was said, whatever evidence was presented, likely documentation of every harassment, every threat, every line crossed, it was effective. Sterling called her cell phone at 9 p.m. She answered on speaker. Cole beside her, you're Grace Zhao. Sterling's voice was hollow, defeated. David Zhao's daughter. You've been working at that shithole diner while your father's worth $40 billion. Yes, you could have told me. You could have said something. Why? Grace's voice was ice. So you'd treat me with respect? You should have treated me with respect anyway. Treating people well shouldn't depend on their bank account, Mr. Sterling. It should be the baseline of being human. I've been instructed to apologize. To leave you alone. To leave your boyfriend alone. He's not my boyfriend, Grace said, though Cole's hand finding hers in that moment suggested otherwise. But yes, you will leave us alone, all of us. Or the next conversation won't be with lawyers. It'll be with police, prosecutors, and every media outlet that would love a story about a wealthy hedge fund manager who harasses and stalks service workers. Sterling was quiet. Then, I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. It's worth very little, Grace said. But it's a start. Goodbye, Mr. Sterling. She hung up. The apartment was quiet. Emma had fallen asleep an hour ago, exhausted from the stress of the past few days. It was just the two of them now, hands intertwined, breathing in sync. Is it over? Cole asked quietly. The Sterling part? Yes, the rest? She turned to face him. I don't know. My father wants to meet you. The security team is going to stay for a while, and eventually, people are going to figure out who I am. The media, the town, everyone. This quiet life I've built. It might not stay quiet, and us. His voice was barely a whisper. Is there an us, Grace? She looked at this man who'd stood up for her when he had nothing to gain and everything to lose. This man who made breakfast for his daughter with shaking hands and went to therapy every week and fought every single day to be better. This man who looked at her like she was more than her last name, more than her father's empire. I'd like there to be, she said softly. If you want that too. Cole pulled her closer, and for the first time since the diner confrontation, since Sterling's harassment began, since all of this started, he let himself breathe. I haven't wanted anything this much in years. But Grace, I'm not an easy person to love. I have bad days. I have nightmares. Sometimes I can't leave the apartment because the world feels too big and too loud. I'm raising a kid on disability payments and warehouse wages. I can't give you the life you're used to. I don't want the life I'm used to. I want this. I want movie nights with Emma and your terrible coffee, and the way you check all the locks twice before bed. I want real, Cole. I want messy and complicated and genuine. I want you. He kissed her then, soft, tentative, like he was afraid she might disappear if he held on too tight. When they broke apart, both were crying. Both were smiling. Both were terrified and hopeful in equal measure. "Your father's going to hate me," Cole said. "Probably at first. He'll get over it. I don't have anything to offer you. You have everything I need, Grace." "Shh." She pressed a finger to his lips. "For once, just let someone take care of you. Let me stand up for you the way you stood up for me. We're a team now, okay? We protect each other." Cole looked at her for a long moment, and she saw him making a choice, the choice to let someone in, to trust, to believe that maybe he deserved this small, beautiful thing. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." They spent that night talking on the couch. Grace curled against Cole's side while he told stories about Emma as a baby, about his time in service, about the long road back from the darkness. She told him about growing up wealthy but lonely, about the pressure of the Zhao name, about the moment she decided to walk away from all of it. And slowly, piece by piece, they built something neither expected to find: a foundation. Not built on money or status or what they could offer each other materially, but on understanding, respect, and the quiet recognition of two people who'd survived their own storms and were willing to weather the next one together. When dawn came again, they were still talking, still holding each other, still believing, against all odds, that this might actually work. David Zhao arrived on a Tuesday afternoon 2 weeks after the phone call, in a black town car that looked absurdly out of place on the apartment's cracked parking lot. Grace watched from the window, her stomach a knot of nerves as her father emerged. Silver-haired, immaculately dressed, every inch the billionaire CEO. Cole stood beside her, Emma holding his hand. They'd spent the morning cleaning the already clean apartment. Emma chattering nervously about meeting Grace's dad. Cole silent in the way he got when anxiety spiked. "He looks scary," Emma whispered. "He's a teddy bear," Grace assured her, though her own hands were shaking. "You'll see." The knock came. Cole squeezed Grace's hand once, then opened the door. David Zhao stood there, flanked by one security guard, his sharp eyes taking in everything: the sparse apartment, the second-hand furniture, Cole's worn army shirt, Emma's wide, curious gaze. For a moment, nobody moved. Then David's eyes found Grace, and something in his expression cracked. "Grace," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Dad." They embraced on the threshold. 3 years of separation collapsing into that moment. Grace felt her father's shoulders shake, felt his hand cradling the back of her head like she was 5 years old again, and let herself cry into his expensive suit. When they finally pulled apart, David turned to Cole and extended his hand. "You must be Cole Mitchell." Cole shook it, his grip firm despite the tremor. "Sir, thank you for coming. Thank you for protecting my daughter when I couldn't." David's voice was sincere, his eyes assessing but not unkind. Then he looked down at Emma, and his expression softened completely. "And who is this beautiful young lady?" Emma stepped forward with the fearlessness of childhood. "I'm Emma Rose Mitchell. I'm 7 3/4. Your daughter is my best friend and she makes really good mac and cheese." David laughed, genuinely laughed, and crouched down to Emma's level. "It's wonderful to meet you, Emma Rose. Your father is a very brave man." "I know," Emma said proudly. "He saved Miss Grace from the mean man. I heard about that. It seems your father is a hero." "He gets nightmares sometimes," Emma said with the blunt honesty of a child. "But he's trying really hard." Grace says trying hard is the most important thing. Grace felt tears prick her eyes again. David stood slowly, looking at Cole with new understanding. "May I come in?" They settled in the small living room, David on the worn armchair, Cole and Grace on the couch with Emma between them. The security guard waited outside. For a moment, awkward silence filled the space, the weight of worlds colliding, of different lives trying to find common ground. "I had you investigated," David said finally, addressing Cole directly. "I hope you'll forgive me, but when someone becomes important to my daughter, I need to know who they are." Cole's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "I understand. 2 Purple Hearts. 3 tours. Honorable discharge. Full custody of your daughter after a difficult divorce. Current employment at Morrison Warehouse. Weekly therapy at the VA. Spotless record except for one bar fight 7 years ago. Charges dropped. David leaned forward. But the reports don't tell me what I really need to know. They don't tell me who you are now. So I'm asking you directly. What are your intentions with my daughter? Grace started to protest, but Cole gently squeezed her hand, silencing her. He met David's gaze head on. Sir, I don't have much to offer. I'm a single father living paycheck to paycheck, dealing with PTSD and trying to give my daughter a stable life. Grace could have anyone. She could have someone successful, someone put together, someone without baggage. He paused, his voice roughening. But she chose me. And I promise you, I will spend every day trying to be worthy of that choice. I'll protect her. I'll respect her. I'll support whatever dreams she has, even if those dreams don't include me. My intention is to love your daughter the best way I know how. Honestly, completely, and without expecting her to be anything other than exactly who she is. The room fell silent. Emma looked up at her father with shining eyes. Grace felt her heart swell so large it hurt. And David Zhao, one of the most powerful men in the world, smiled. That's the right answer, he said quietly. Grace, your mother would have liked him. Grace's breath caught. Her mother had died when she was 15. Cancer, swift and merciless. They rarely spoke of her. You think so? I know so. She always said the measure of a man wasn't what he had, but what he did with what he was given. She would have respected Cole's fight. David turned back to Cole. I understand you're looking for better employment, more stable hours, something that would let you spend more time with Emma. I can't accept charity, sir. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering opportunity. David pulled out a business card. My security team needs trainers, people who've been in combat, who understand real-world threat assessment. It pays well, has benefits, flexible hours. You'd be teaching corporate security personnel, nothing that would trigger your PTSD, and you'd be genuinely qualified. He set the card on the coffee table between them. Think about it. No pressure. But the offer stands. Cole stared at the card like it might bite him. Grace could see the war happening behind his eyes. Pride versus practicality. Fear versus hope. Emma solved it by picking up the card herself. This means Daddy could come to my school plays, she said seriously. And we could get a bigger apartment with a room for Grace if she wants to stay over. And maybe a puppy. Everyone laughed, the tension breaking. David's eyes crinkled with genuine warmth. I think a puppy might be negotiable, Emma rose. I'll think about it, Cole said finally, looking at David. Thank you, genuinely. Thank Grace. She's the one who taught me that real strength isn't about money or power. It's about standing up when standing up costs you everything. David looked at his daughter with profound pride. You've built something good here, Grace, something real. I was wrong to think you needed the empire to be complete. You just needed to find yourself first. Grace wiped her eyes. Does this mean you're okay with me staying? Are you happy? She looked at Cole, at Emma, at this small apartment that had become more home than any mansion ever was, happier than I've been in years. Then I'm more than okay with it. Though I reserve the right to visit frequently and spoil my future granddaughter. He winked at Emma, who giggled. They spent the afternoon together, David insisting on taking them to dinner at the nicest restaurant in town, where he charmed Emma with stories about Grace's childhood, and made Cole laugh with surprisingly self-deprecating humor about his own struggles balancing fatherhood and business. The billionaire CEO disappeared, replaced by a father who'd missed his daughter desperately, and was grateful to the people who'd given her reason to smile again. As they walked back to the car that evening, Emma's hand in David's, chattering about school, Cole pulled Grace aside. Your father's a good man, he said quietly. He is, and he likes you. I can tell. Grace, about that job offer. Take it, she said firmly. Not because you need saving, but because you deserve stability. Because Emma deserves to have her father at her school plays. Because sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. How did I get this lucky? We both got lucky, finally. 3 months later, Grace stood in the small backyard of their new house. Nothing extravagant. Just a 3-bedroom rental with a yard big enough for the puppy Emma had successfully negotiated, and watched Cole teach Emma how to throw a baseball. The tremor in his hands was less pronounced now, The nightmares still came, but less frequently. He'd started the security training job and discovered he was good at it, that teaching others gave him purpose without triggering his trauma. Sterling had disappeared from their lives completely. Last she heard, relocating to New York, his reputation in Tennessee quietly destroyed by whispers of his behavior. Grace had returned to working at the diner part-time, not because she needed the money, but because she'd discovered she genuinely enjoyed it. The routine, the regulars, the simplicity of good service and kind interactions. She'd found a balance. Not fully Grace Zhao, not fully Grace Chen, but something in between. Someone who could have Sunday dinner with her billionaire father and still pour coffee on Monday morning. Someone who belonged to herself first and let the rest figure itself out. "Grace, watch this," Emma called, winding up for a pitch. The ball went wild, rolling into the flower bed. Everyone laughed. The puppy, a golden retriever named Buddy, barked excitedly and chased after it. Cole jogged over to Grace, sliding an arm around her waist. "You okay?" he asked, reading her contemplative expression. "More than okay. Just thinking about how different everything is from a year ago." "Better different? Infinitely better different." He kissed her temple. "I love you, you know. Haven't said it enough, but I do. I love you, Grace Zhao Chen, whoever you want to be. I love all of you. I love you too, Cole Mitchell. All of you. The scars, the nightmares, the tremors, the strength, the gentleness, the courage. All of it." Emma ran over, Buddy at her heels, grass stains on her knees and pure joy on her face. "Can we have a cookout? Can we invite Grandpa David? And Rosie from the diner? And maybe my teacher?" "Sure, Princess," Cole said. "We can have a cookout. We're like a real family now," Emma said, looking between them with 7-year-old wisdom. "Right?" Grace and Cole exchanged glances. They hadn't discussed marriage, hadn't put labels on what they were building, but Emma was right. They were a family, messy, unconventional, stitched together from broken pieces and brave choices. "Yeah, baby," Grace said softly, reaching for both their hands. "We're a real family." As the sun set over their small yard, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the three of them stood together, the veteran learning to heal, the billionaire's daughter learning to be herself, and the little girl who'd brought them together. They'd all been looking for something: safety, identity, love, purpose. And in each other, in this unlikely constellation, they'd found everything they needed. 6 months later, at Emma's school assembly, Cole sat in the audience, Grace beside him, her hand in his. Emma stood on stage with her class, preparing to present about heroes. When her turn came, she stepped forward with confidence. "My hero is my daddy," she began, and Cole felt his throat tighten. He was a soldier and he got hurt, but he didn't give up. He still has bad dreams sometimes, but he goes to therapy and takes his medicine and tries really hard every single day. He works to give me a good life. He teaches people how to be safe. And when he saw someone being mean to my friend Grace, he stood up even though he was scared. She paused, looking directly at Cole. "My teacher said heroes are people who do the right thing even when it's hard. My daddy does that every day. He gets up even when he's tired. He's patient even when I'm annoying. He loves me even though sometimes his brain makes him sad. That's why he's my hero. Not because he's perfect, but because he keeps trying." The auditorium erupted in applause. Grace was crying, her hand squeezing Cole's so tight it almost hurt. Cole couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only watch his daughter bow and see her beaming smile and think, This is why I fought so hard to stay alive. This moment right here, after the assembly, as they walked to the car with Emma chattering between them, David pulled up in his town car. He'd flown in for the presentation, insisting he wouldn't miss his granddaughter's first school event. "Proud grandpa moment?" Grace teased. "Beyond proud," David said, ruffling Emma's hair. "Though I think someone else deserves the real celebration." He looked at Cole. "You've done remarkable work, Cole. With Emma, with yourself, with my daughter. I want you to know you have my complete respect. And my blessing should you ever need it for anything." The meaning was clear. Cole met his eyes and nodded. "Thank you, sir. That means more than you know." As they drove home, all of them piling into Cole's now reliable truck, Emma babbling about the assembly, Grace's hand on Cole's knee, Buddy waiting at home, Cole felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace, not the absence of struggle, not the end of hard days, but the deep, abiding knowledge that he was exactly where he belonged, with exactly who he was meant to be with, building exactly the life he wanted. Sometimes heroes don't wear medals anymore. Sometimes they just show up, keep trying, stand up when standing up costs them everything. Love fiercely despite the scars. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply keep going, keep believing, keep fighting for the small, beautiful, ordinary moments that make a life worth living. And in that truck, driving home through the Tennessee sunset, Cole Mitchell, veteran, father, survivor, hero, finally understood what victory really meant. It meant this. It meant them. It meant home.